salutations, my dearest friends. My name is Samantha and welcome back to Trope Week. Every single day this week I'm posting back-to-back videos where I pick a specific book trope and give you a bunch of recommendations. And today I'm going to be talking about the found family trope. Hello, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. We are continuing on with Trope Week. If you hear any noises in the background, it's because my family doesn't know how to be quiet. We're rolling with it. We're going with it. Today's trope that I'm going to be talking about is the found family trope, and I'm so surprised that I've never done a video on this because I actually love this trope to pieces, and I am collabing with a booktuber that I also love to pieces, and that is Rachel from Rachel Reads and Sings. If you're not familiar with Trope Week and what it is on my channel, it's basically a series that I have where I take a whole week and every single day I pick a specific romance book trope and I give you a ton of recommendations. This week I'm also going to be collabing with a bunch of booktubers that I just adore and cherish their recommendations, so you'll have even more books recommended for you. Today I'm going to be collabing with Rachel from Rachel Reads and Sings, who is a dear friend of mine here on BookTube. I had the pleasure of meeting Rachel in person, and let me tell you, she shines. Her laughter is infectious, her energy is electric, she's insanely talented, she can sing, she can dance, and she gives the best book recommendations ever. We have such similar reading tastes that I always love watching her videos because I know I'm gonna find a bunch of books that I love. So highly recommend her channel. I will leave her video down below. Like, this is a trope that you see often in genres other than romance as well, like YA or fantasy. I'm thinking like Six of Crows vibes, but I'm going to be predominantly talking about romance books that have this found family vibe. I think that it focuses on more than just the romance, but it also focuses on the side character relationships and the family dynamic. And most of these books are also in a series because you get to follow like each character within the found family or the friend group. So let's just hop in because I have quite a few recommendations. This first recommendation I immediately thought of when we decided to do the found family trope, and that is the All for the Game series by Nora Sokoviak. I have a reading vlog of this entire series like forever ago. I actually think it was like the first video I filmed. I literally cried the entire time. This book is so angsty and so emotional and so dark. Is 3 books in total in this series: The Foxhole Court, The Raven King, and The King's Men, and I read all of them and loved all of them. You definitely do have to read them in order because it follows the same main characters throughout the series. This is a sports romance, and the found family comes from the team. It's a fictional sport, but it's kind of a mixture of like rugby and soccer and lacrosse, like just jumbled together. Hero Neil is going to a new school to play for the sports team, but he's actually running from something from his past. I don't do any spoilers, but this is a little bit of a dark romance. He's running from his abusive family. He ends up creating this new identity and playing the sport XC for this university. In this specific university, this team is a bunch of misfits. Everyone who is on this team has kind of been chosen for a reason because of, you know, their past. All had some type of trauma or something that they're going through, whether it's an abusive family or drug addiction or anything like that. There is quite a few trigger warnings in this book. There is a few trigger warnings in this book. Our characters are going through a lot. They've been through a lot, and the way they lean on each other and create like a found family while they're playing this sport is so beautiful. This is a male-male romance, and it's very, very slow burn. He ends up having a relationship with one of his teammates, but when I say it's slow burn, it's slow burn. Like, I don't even think they kiss until like the end of the second book. So it's definitely more focused on the character development and the character relationships, but there is a slight romance in there, and I just love it to pieces. I love it, love it, love it. You know what this book gives me? It gives me like Wattpad vibes in the best way. Like, this is the type of like teenage angst book that I would have loved and I still love, you know what I mean? Okay, so the next one is another male-male romance series, and that is the Necessary Evil series by Onley James. There is 6 books total in this series. I haven't read this entire series, so I'll talk mainly about the first book, but overall what this series is that it follows each brother from an adopted family. So they were all adopted by this like billionaire, but they all have one thing in common, and that's the fact that they're psychopaths, sociopaths, all of that jazz. They've all had some type of trauma in their childhood that made them become psychopaths, and their adopted father adopted them to be serial killers. Kind of like a Robin Hood vibe. They're basically killing the evil in the world. In their eyes, they're basically like purging everything that the government failed to do, like rapists and serial killers, and they're basically going after all of the bad guys, but they're still serial killers and sociopaths. This book is called Unhinged. Hero Adam is a serial killer and he ends up having an enemies to lovers romance with Noah. So Adam actually killed Noah's father when he was younger, and Noah is out for revenge. She's stalking Adam and trying to kill him, but they end up falling in love. While they're doing that, a lot of secrets come out and they are taking down like this ring of men who are assaulting children. So there is pretty heavy trigger warnings for this book. Romance is so freaking good. The way Adam is obsessed with Noah, I don't know how the author was able to make a serial killer romance so romantic, but it's like one of the best series I've ever read. Okay, to be honest, it's been a couple hours, many hours, because I went to the movies with my family. For some reason in my head, I thought the movie time was a different time, and then I was in the middle of filming and my family was like, yo, we gotta go. And then we went to get dinner, we went grocery shopping. Yeah. Anyways, I'm back hours later to finish the recommendations. We have a couple more recs that I want to talk about. The next series I want to talk about is the Central Park Pact series by Lauren Lane. 3 books in total, and it follows a girl group who share one thing in common, and that is they were all dating the same guy without realizing it. So one was married to this guy, one was this guy's girlfriend, like longtime girlfriend that had been with him for like 2-3 years, and then one was more so like the mistress. They all realized that they were dating this guy at his funeral. So he passes away, they all go to the funeral, and instead of lashing out on each other and taking it out on each other, blaming each other, they realized that they were all victims to how terrible this guy was, forming a girl pact that they're going to be best friends, they're going to be there for each other, and they're also going to prevent each other from dating terrible men. They're like help each other find new significant others. And I love this girl gang so much. I love the friendship in this story. I feel like oftentimes in a situation like that, the girls get very catty and they kind of turn on each other, even though it's the guy who is trash and it's all his fault. And that's not how it went down in this book. They got closer, they supported each other, they come from totally different walks of life, they look different, they have different jobs, create this really awesome friendship and found family, and I love it. So I do think you can read this series out of order as well. It's a contemporary series, and I listened to all of these books via audiobook. For all the other series, I think I talked about like the first book in each one, but for this one I'm going to talk about my favorite book, which I think is the last book. It's called Marriage on Madison Avenue, and this is an arranged marriage / friends lovers romance. So our heroine is a social media influencer, and she's been best friends with our hero, who has been getting a lot of pressure from his parents to marry. He ends up propositioning his best friend to pretend that they're engaged so he can get his mom off his back. And also it kind of benefits our heroine because she's a social media influencer. She ends up posting about the engagement and her follower count goes skyrocketing, so it's helping like her social media presence as well. I know it sounds kind of weird, but it makes sense in the book, and they've been friends for so long and have never really seen each other that way until they do, and it's super cute. I love this friends to lovers romance to pieces. Highly recommend it, and I just love the dynamic between all 3 girls. Okay, so the next one, let's talk about one that is not in a series, and that is The House on the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. This book is magical. I love TJ Klune's writing, and I will say most of his books have a found family element to it. The Green Creek series, which is a werewolf paranormal romance series, that definitely has a found family trope, like werewolf pacts, obviously. The Extraordinaries, which is his YA like superhero series, also has a found family series because they've all been childhood friends and they kind of help each other as they're developing these powers. Now that I'm sitting here realizing it, TJ Klune definitely loves a found family trope, but the one I want to mention is The House on the Cerulean Sea. This one is a pretty subtle romance. So our hero Linus works for a magical agency that hosts orphanages for magical beings. It's not always for their well-being though, which you kind of figure out in this book, and he ends up getting a job from his managers to go to this mysterious house on the Cerulean Sea. Mysterious orphanage hosts 6 magical kids who are coming from all different walks of life. They have different type of magic, and they're supposedly super dangerous. But oh my god, they're so cute, and he ends up connecting with them as well as their caretaker Arthur. Arthur is the man who has taken care of all of these kids, and they are all so different. They all have different magical powers, they all have different personalities, and they kind of like band together to create this found family trope, and it's so good. So good. It even says, like in the synopsis, an enchanting story masterfully told, The House on the Cerulean Sea is about the profound experience of discovering an unlikely family in an unexpected place and realizing that family is yours. Literally perfect for the found family trope. I think TJ Klune's writing is phenomenal, fantastic, wonderful, great, and I guess I would recommend all of his books because they all kind of have that found family trope. Okay, my last 2 recommendations are 2 historical romance series. The first series I want to talk about is the Wallflowers series by Lisa Kleypas. This is one of my favorite series of all time. I talk about it a ton on my channel, and I know it's well loved around the historical romance community. I have a whole video on this series where I talk about each individual plot and rank my favorites and just go into detail about some of my favorites from Lisa Kleypas as well. Total, the series has 4 books. Also has a prequel as well as a short Christmas novella. You don't necessarily have to read these books in order, but I find that is more enjoyable if you do. I just want everyone to read the prequel first because this is my favorite book of all time. Again, the magic, you guys know I love this book. This is very similar to the Lauren Lane series in the sense that the found family is kind of a girl group. So our heroines are wallflowers for one reason or another. They are not diamonds of the season. They have not found marriage matches, and they're always kind of like in the background. It's because they don't have any nobility to them, or they lack funds and money, or whatever reason they're isolated from society. They find themselves being wallflowers, just sitting at the edge of the ball while everyone else is getting their happily ever afters, and they decide that they're going to make a pact that they're going to help each other find matches and get married during this season. Each individual book follows each of the girls. So we have Annabelle, Lillian, Evie, and Daisy. I'll talk about the first book in this series. That's not the prequel. This is Secrets of a Summer Night, and our heroine Annabelle is the oldest. Her family is having some serious financial struggles, and she needs to marry into nobility to save her family. And our hero Sebastian is completely taken by her. He's not a part of nobility though. He's a self-made man, so he's a lot of money but not actually a title. So he ends up asking Annabelle to be his mistress. I love romance. I just love romances so much. This book is hilarious. I love our characters together. The next series that I love and is so good for this trope is the Wicked Wallflower series by Christy Caldwell. Total, there are 5 books in this series, and it is available on Kindle Unlimited with the audiobook if you want to check it out. We'll say you have to read this series in order as well, except the last book, the Spitfire, is the only book that can be read as a standalone. So this series follows the Cerulean sisters and the people who work for her family. So the Cerulean sisters own a gambling hell. Their brother owns a gambling hell that they inherited from their adopted father. Each of our characters basically came from the streets and were adopted by this guy who was not a great guy. Killed people for power, he stole kids off the street, forced them to labor. He ended up adopting 5 children, 2 boys and 3 girls, and that's where the found family aspect comes from because they all come from like different walks of life. They were all affected by the same man, and they all work or live in this gambling hell, and it follows their individual romance. Storyline continues throughout the entire book, which is why I say you have to read it in order, but the found family aspect is so strong. The way the siblings defend each other and love each other throughout the entire series is amazing. Let's talk about the very first book, and that is The Hellion. This is an enemies to lovers Romeo and Juliet retelling. So our heroine Cleopatra is the youngest Cerulean sister. Mother is the one who inherited the gambling hell when their adopted father passed away, and he really wants the best for his sister. He wants to marry his sister to nobility, so he knows that they're going to be okay. Marrying someone with a title, they're a little bit more protected and accepted into society. So they have a rival family that owes them a favor, and that is where Adair, our hero, comes in. His family is hosting Cleopatra during her first season and helping her marry into nobility, but he does not trust her as far as he can throw her because they're rival families, they're enemies, they own rival gambling hells. He makes himself like her self-appointed bodyguard and follows her around, which of course means he falls for her. Such a good enemies to lovers romance. Our heroine is so strong, independent, and such a spitfire, and our hero Adair, I love him to pieces. So such a good start to the series, but I do love all of the books in this series. I also have a video on these books where I talked about each individual plot. I ranked them. I did a whole series breakdown. If you want to see it, I will link it down below. The recommendation video was a little different because I'm recommending so many series, but if you love the found family trope, you have many books to choose from throughout these different series. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. It means the world to me. Please check out Rachel's video, and I will see you in tomorrow's video. I hope you guys are all staying happy and healthy.